Now, she was initially lying up a bit closer to the kill, but then she got up and went and positioned herself in the shade over there. She did call out to the cub once or twice. Ooh. Ooh. Vocalization kind of similar to that noise I just attempted to make. But we've had no sign of it yet, and who knows, maybe when that Inyala came onto the scene barking a little bit earlier, she gave the command to the cub to flee, just in case, just a possibility. And we're just going to have to put on our patient pants and get comfortable here and wait for her to decide when she would like to have another snack. This morning there was about half of the kill remaining. I haven't had time to go, well, I have had time, I just haven't wanted to disturb Thandi too much, so I haven't had a look at the... I couldn't agree more, Steve. This is certainly a very, very beautiful beast, even though we can hardly see her. And she's just kind of lounging about in the shade. Senzo and I were just saying how nice it would be if we could offer to take off her fur coat for her on such a hot day. She could walk around in the nude. It would be far more comfortable. But, alas, we cannot do that. And it'd be really interesting to know how hot they're actually feeling. I can't even comprehend how hot she must be with that fur coat. Panting away, and on top of that she's got quite a full belly, which will be further making her a little bit more uncomfortable. Now, just like Steve, I was kind of contemplating leaving the sighting, but I think I'm actually going to sit tight. You know, we don't know when she might move again. We don't know what the cub might start doing, and if the cub might start getting a little bit active sooner than an adult ordinarily would on such a hot day. So we're probably just going to stay put for the time being. We are also quite close to Steve, and the Buffalo's Hook Dam. So if I did leave here, that's where I would go, but I'm guessing that's where Steve is going to go when he leaves the Lions, so I don't think it'll make too much sense. Kathy, you agree with me regarding poor old Thandi, and you can see she's panting very hard, trying to cool herself down. I wonder if she's not going to move. She's kind of just been looking like she's possibly thinking about it. She was also looking in the opposite direction quite a bit, so I'm wondering if that's not where the cub is nestled. But it seems like she's not quite content with her spot there. Leah, you've obviously just jumped on board and would like a quick update as to what food she managed to catch. And it was a baby Inyala. And as we came onto the scene this afternoon, we found them here this morning, and already half the kill had been eaten. But when we arrived here about half an hour ago, interestingly, it was quite a sad scene, but it was very interesting at the same time. And the mother Inyala had come back in search of a youngster, and she was actually kind of barking at the leopard, bah, bah, and just coming in and checking, hoping that maybe she would in fact get lucky, but alas, the damage has already been done. And it's a very small baby, so I'm guessing that they're going to finish the kill this evening, which means we'll have another treasure hunt on our hands tomorrow morning to try and work out where they have gone. We got very, very lucky finding them in this spot today, because it's incredibly thick where we are. So, lucky. I'm happy that we got lucky, because we haven't been spending as much time with this lady as we would like to have been. She's been doing a good job hiding from us. So happy that we've rectified that, and I'm hoping we're going to have a wonderful sighting of her and the cub this evening. Well, Leah, well, thanks for getting back to us so quickly and saying that you missed out on the sunrise safari. Well, if you guys ever do miss out on the sunset safari, the sunrise safari, you can always just ask for a quick update as to what went on as soon as you jump on board. We'd be happy to let you guys know. Puma, you've also just jumped on board and thought that this could possibly be Tingana. No, it's one of his girlfriends, and Tingana was last seen yesterday evening with Taylor on the sunset safari, and it sounded like he ate a terrapin or a tortoise. He was crunching through something small, which is not the best sign that he's lowered his standards to such a level that he's willing to feed on those kinds of snacks. It does kind of emphasize the fact that he's not in the best shape and obviously battling to get a decent meal. And he is looking a little bit skinny, I'm told. I haven't seen him for quite a while. But again, nature can sometimes be harsh, and I guess he's slowly kind of deteriorating in strength and size. Very good. Well, we're going to stay put here and send you back to the very new made-over Leo Smith with his fancy short haircut. Yes, here we are, still with poor old panting Thandi, and she's moved ever so slightly from her last spot. I think obviously the shady spot was shifting ever so slightly as the sun begins to lower in the western horizon, and still no sign of the cub, but I'm confident as things cool down a little bit later on, we are in a great position to hopefully get spoilt with an incredible sighting of the two of them. Daryl, you would like to know how long will Thandi sit there to digest his meal? Well, she's a lady, so it's her meal, and they usually don't hang around too long. Once the food is finished, they move off and digest it kind of elsewhere. But it can take about 3 days for a leopard to fully digest a full belly. If they've had a buffet, so to speak, it can set them up for quite easily the next few days. They definitely do not need to feed every single day. And yeah, I guess it just depends, Daryl. King Megara of the Sea. How lucky we are to have some royalty amongst us this afternoon. And thank you for spending your very precious time with us. You would like to know if leopards will ever swim to cool off. Not that I have ever seen, and I would ordinarily have said the same for lion, but interestingly there was a sighting, not with us personally, but with a guy that I know, of lions sleeping in a kind of puddle in a very hot day in the Masai Mara. There was no shade nearby, no trees, and I think they had a kill out in the open, so they plonked themselves into a mud wallow, kind of not usually dissimilar from how hyena will very often act. But no, ordinarily the big cats of Africa, lion, leopard and cheetah, will avoid water at all costs. So unlike tigers, who are happy to lounge in water when it's hot, jaguars, I wonder if jaguars also, I haven't seen any footage of jaguars lounging in water, but they're certainly very, very comfortable in water. And I mean, I wonder if the lions in areas like the Okavango Delta of Botswana, there they become accustomed to swimming. They do a lot of swimming around, and even Nikki showed me a clip of a lioness carrying a tiny little cub in her mouth through the water. She was wading. I mean, the water was coming up to her chest, and then another tiny little cub was swimming alongside her. I mean, so from a very young age, those lions will be exposed to a lot of water, and possibly there they may be more likely to kind of seek refuge in it on a hot day. But again, I can't confirm that that is actually the case. Well, speaking of waterholes, let's see what Brent is up to at a waterhole somewhere nearby. How cool is this? Our patience has paid off. and the cub has literally just come onto the scene, and it's now getting pampered by Mom. How cool is this? What an absolute treat. Who knows how long they've been apart for. I mean, they were definitely together this morning, but sometimes mothers will kind of banish their youngsters during the heat of the day when they just need some time to themselves. Or it could have been that the Inyala came onto the scene. Oh, what does this cub want? Does it want some milk? Or is it getting impatient and restless there? Still very hot, everyone. Even though it's 5:20 in the afternoon, it is baking. So, to be honest, I'm actually quite surprised to see them getting active already. And it was only due to the fact that Mom called the cub a number of times that the cub actually came out. Instead, it's still kind of half asleep. It can often be very, very playful, and I'm guessing it is going to become a lot more playful as the evening progresses. Sure, you're getting a proper clean here now. As we came onto the scene, it was difficult to have a good look, but it appears like the kill is in kind of two portions almost. We've seen a tiny bit of fur on one side of us and the majority of the carcass on the other side, but there definitely is still a little bit of meat that remains, so I'm sure they're going to chomp down on that a little bit later. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Okay, well, because this is such a wonderful moment, we are thinking of possibly inviting on some other viewers. You can see we parked in the bushes here. Well, she's just repositioning herself, so let's see what she gets up to, and we will definitely at some stage this afternoon invite on some extra viewers. Hello, you little cutie. But I would like to just see what Mom does beforehand, rather than getting into a spot where we can't see her as we welcome on board everyone. Hello, Alan. You'd like to know how old is this little cub now? We're not sure of the exact day that it was born. Sometimes the guides do get lucky enough to know information as precise as that. And I think, I stand to be corrected, but I think the kind of guesstimate period is around the 10th of November. Possibly a little bit before that, which means it's just over 4 months old now. I'm going to have to move forward ever so slightly because now they're both in a spot where we can't see them. Right behind that bush. I'm just going to pass that up to Senzo. That should do. Jaden, you would like to know if it's relaxing out here for us and the animals. And yes, I mean, I speak for myself. It's certainly very relaxing for me. And it seems like the animals are also at peace with their home. And the fact that we are here enjoying being spectators. Having said that, though, it seems like she's in a bit of a bad mood today, the mother. So she gives us the odd snarl. But it's not hugely uncommon for certain leopards to just be a little bit moody. It never really amounts to anything. If they get angry enough, they will kind of often charge the vehicle, and at that point in time, we will move off and give them the space that they require. Now, it sounds like the cub has come to investigate what's going on with the remains of the kill. Oh, yeah, it's got it. You can see, not very well, though, that it's got a portion of the baby Inyala that it's trying to snack on. You would have just seen one of the Inyala's limbs there. There you are, you little cutie. And often what young leopards will do is they'll play with their food, no different to young humans, I guess, and kind of practice attacking it and wrestling it and biting it on the throats. Oh, you can keep an eye on us. We're keeping an eye on you, you little cutie. Veronica, you would like to know where will Thandi hide her cub when she goes off hunting? From this age, just about anywhere she can stash the cub. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a burrow or a cave or a cavity in a tree. The cubs from this age are capable of climbing into trees, so it can just be left in a thicket, so to speak. It could be left in an area just like where we are now. Lots of bush, lots of long grass, little trees that it can climb up if it needs to escape hyena. This is the first time I've ever seen it chewing on meat, guys. Now, even though it has... Oh, that's a nice big mouthful. You're going to grow up to be a monster if you keep eating like this. And it has been seen feasting on meat, I mean, as far back as a month ago, possibly even slightly longer. But this is my first sighting, and aren't we so lucky that we can snipe a little gap straight through all these bushes as we see it doing so, keeping a beady eye on us as it does. And it's very important that we do spend time with the young animals here and make them realize that we as humans are not a threat to them, and that all we want to do is spectate, because that allows us this incredible insight into their lives. Leopards are ordinarily very, very shy and nervous, and they will often shy away from humans unless they are habituated. Super Mike or Super Bike, I'm not too sure, but you know who you are. You would like Super Bike. You would like to know if we know who this cub's father is, and we don't know for 100%, but we believe strongly that it's a male leopard called Tingana. He's sadly kind of on the way out. It appears he's getting quite old, and there's a new young male that arrived on the scene in December that seems to be pushing him out of his territory. And the fact that this new male is coming onto the old male's territory is a huge, huge threat to this little cub that we're looking at now, because leopards will kill cubs that they did not father, because it, of course, will release the mother of the responsibility of raising the cub. And in this case, she would be raising it for at least another year before she could mate again. So rather than waiting all that time, they just kill the cub and then they can mate within a few weeks. The female cats, or especially the leopards, will come into season very quickly after losing cubs. And the reason why we're not 100% sure that it is Tingana is what leopardess will often do is mate with multiple males. So rather than just mating with one male, if they mate with a few of the dominant males of the general area, that means that any of them kind of come across her and their cub, it means that they will all believe that they are the father. So on a number of occasions we've had the same leopard mating with 2 or 3 males, not necessarily that we've seen, but that we've got reports of. Okay, well, we're going to stay put where we are, and what a magical scene it is. I can't see where Mom has gone, so she may also be heading closer towards the kill for a snack. We'll be sure to keep you updated and send you back over to Brent for an update on his adventures. Well, sorry you were rushed abruptly from Steve to us. Obviously, there was a small dip in his signal. We've stayed put. We can't really move anywhere to get a better view of this cub, but when she does put her head in the right spot, I think it is quite a good spot to be in. Still just chomping away, and still no further sign of Mom, so Mom is obviously letting her bubba just enjoy the snacks for now. I'm sure once the cub's eaten its full, Mom's going to come in and hoover up the rest. The Mom will be able to consume the entirety of this carcass, probably including the skull and the hooves, all of the leg bones. It's a very young calf, but this young cub won't be able to process that, so she's letting the youngster take all the easier bits. heard you guys are having an interesting discussion with Brent about what he would prefer to be attacked by, wild dogs or lions. I've been wondering, if wild dogs did attack humans, which Brent says they didn't, which I would prefer. There'd have to be some more specifics here. How many would you be up against? Because you can put up a fight, even against a lion. There's a guy, I think Steve was telling the story, called Harry Wallater, an old warden of the Kruger National Park. Oh, we need to rush you off to a cute baby elephant with Steve. Well, that sounded absolutely wonderful with Steve and that little baby Eddie. Not too much has changed here. This cub is still doing its best to devour as much of this carcass as it can. And Senzo is just showing off his fancy camera work here, doing the focus pull. Quite an artsy move. From the grass seeds in the foreground back to this cute little leopard in the background. Now, Steve's question regarding elephants rejecting or kind of abandoning their young calves, I've never heard of it happening myself. It's not to say that it hasn't happened, and I'd be surprised if in the whole continent of Africa that there hasn't been a bad mother elephant, but I'm sure it's not the norm. And I'm guessing the only time that an elephant may do that is maybe in times of drought, when, she may give birth, while the herd is doing a big march from one water point to another, or one point of food to another, where they may need to abandon a calf because it can't keep up. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I don't think it's the norm, and I don't know of any confirmed stories of that actually happening. Now, sadly, we can't really reposition. If you have just jumped on board, did the cub just go bounding off there? And I think it may have just run off, so back towards Mum. Can't be certain though. Puma, you'd like to know if young leopards will ever have the terrible 2 syndrome. I'm guessing that's when a human is 2 years old, they start becoming a nightmare. I guess, there could be, some kind of, period. It won't be at 2 years old, because by then they'll often be away from their mother. But, it looks like, I think Mom now is dragging the carcass away. Oh, it's the cub dragging the carcass. No ways. Jeez. You go, girl. How cool is this? It's taking the kill to Mommy. Difficult to see, but that is what's happening. Let's try and reposition now, because they're far enough away from us to allow for us to move without bothering them. Pradeep, you'd like to know if... Ooh, sorry, Thandi, I didn't realize you were right here. Thanks, Sans. So, Mom is right here. I was busy looking over closer towards where the cub was. And it looks like the cub is still making its way to Mom, so let's try and wait in a good spot here. I think this is as good as it will get for the time being without getting in their way. And... hello, Mama. I think you're about to get some room service from your baby. It appears like she's bringing you a gift. So, Pradeep, no, I'm sorry if I don't think I continued answering your question, because I nearly ran over Thandi. Wouldn't have been very popular. So, I don't think the cub will necessarily choke. Of course, there is a small chance. Oh, here it comes. How cool is this? What a scene. It's so big, and you're so strong. You're practicing to be a big adult leopard. practicing your carcass dragging skills. And it's very important for leopards to be able to drag carcasses because they often don't necessarily make the kill next to a tree. Oh, she's got close to Mom now, and it looks like she may come over to say hello. Hello, isn't this wonderful? And I think this would now be a good time for us to possibly welcome on board some extra viewers. So this is just too special not to share with as many people as possible. If you guys would like to be so kind and pick up your phones and phone a friend and tell them to log on, we would appreciate that too. Looks like I think it's going back to the kill. Maybe it's going to drag it a little bit closer to Mom again. I hope she does. We'll have such a great view from here. No, changed her mind. Okay, I'm just going to keep quiet for a second just before we have to welcome on the others. Hello everyone, and welcome to this live safari coming to you from the Sabi Sands in South Africa. As you can see, we've got a tiny little leopard cub. She's just gone about 4 months of age, and her and her mother are busy enjoying lounging about. Oh, where's Mom gone? Oh, there's Mom. And they've got a kill. There you can see Mom's carrying a antelope. It was a baby Inyala that they caught. And we just couldn't resist welcoming you guys on board to see this awesome scene unfold. We've been very, very lucky in that we've followed the life of this cub quite closely since it was born, and it's been absolutely fascinating to see how it's grown and developed and matured over the last few months. Very good. Well, my name's Scott, and like I said, this is a live safari. If you don't believe that it's live, just question us and we'll get back to you immediately to solve that problem. And like I said, we would love to hear from you. Send through as many questions and comments as you can. Just pop them in the comment box below. Now, it is a little bit tricky. It's quite thick here. It's summer here in South Africa, and it's very, very lush after we've got some much-needed rains a couple of weeks ago. Perfect environment for these leopards to sneak up on their prey undetected, but makes our lives a little bit tricky. Hello to one of our biggest fans, Kirsty McLennan-Smith. Here's a little treat for you, Kirsty. She's just gone on leave, and I hope you're having a wonderful time already. Well, it doesn't get better than this. A young cub practicing its tree climbing skills, and I hope it just pops itself into a clearer spot for us to get some better visuals. I'm sure it's going to be full of energy this evening. Luke, you would like to know if this is a fresh kill. Well, we found the kill this morning at around, I'd guess about 8 a.m. It's just going on 6 p.m. at the moment. And when we found the kill, it had already been half eaten. So I'm guessing it was made in the very early hours of this morning, but can't be 100% sure, just a guesstimate. Kathy, you've just said, what a beauty, and she certainly is, this little girl, and you'd like to know how long will she be with her mother for. Well, on average, it's around 18 months that a leopardess will spend with its cub. Oh, it looks like the kill's in 2 portions. Now Mom's carrying back another piece. That just looks like one leg. Interesting. And yeah, Kathy, around 18 months of age, the mother will start forcing the cubs out so that she can give birth to the next litter. But it can happen as early as 12 months of age. Well, Rama in India, great to have you with us. And Kevin in Ireland, we've got people all over the world joining us, and isn't it absolutely awesome that we can share these scenes with you? Anthony in Scotland, and it really is an absolutely awesome thing that we can go about these safaris with you guys right next to us in real time. It doesn't get any better. Nancy in London, you'd like to know how far away are we from these leopards? Well, I would say no more than 10 meters at the most from where that cub just disappeared off into the thickets. And it must be said that this is one of the best places in the world to view leopard. There are various places in Africa where you get the high leopard densities like you get here. But most importantly, the leopards have been habituated through very gentle management and good safari protocol over the last 40 or 50 years that this reserve has been operational. The leopards have become accustomed to us as humans. I just swallowed a bug. So now I've got it in my mouth, but I'm just going to continue talking and pretend it's not there. Maybe I should... There it is. There's the little bug. Shame. Suicide bug. Let's try and reposition to get you a better view. I'm worried, though, that they've just disappeared into a very thick area. Okay. Terry, you'd like to know if I ever fear for my own safety, and yes, I certainly have on a number of events felt very, very scared out here. But as a general rule, the animals are more scared of us than we are of them, and they will avoid us at all costs. So as long as you kind of take the basic precautions, you're generally not going to get yourself into any trouble. Okay. So yeah, as long as you look into and listen to any warnings or kind of distress and body language with the animals, they'll very often leave you be. And Neil, you've just said Mom must trust us because she's letting us get very close. And yes, she's been exposed to a lot of vehicles and a lot of humans in her life. She is approaching... How old is Thandi now? I've just forgotten, but she's not young. I think she's about 11 years of age. So she's had a lot of experience, and from when she was a little cub, I'm sure, just like her cub now, is getting exposed to the vehicles and the fact that we are not a danger to them. They will pass on that kind of feeling to their youngsters, and that's why it's very important that we do spend a lot of time with leopards like this when they do have youngsters, so that we just reassure them that we are not going to interfere, we're not going to harm them, we're not going to steal their food, we just want to spectate. And as a general rule, if you do that with wild animals, over time you'll almost become invisible to them, and they'll go about their business with very, very little notice of our presence. She's probably only around 4 or 5 meters from our vehicle at the moment. Angela and Danielle, you would like to know the lifespan of these animals and how long will they breed for? Well, there's a few rare cases of these animals making it into their 20s, but that's specifically the females living that long. The males tend to not live as long. They live a more kind of aggressive and brutal life and tend to die at a younger age. But, you know, if a leopard makes it to 15 years of age, it's had a very, very good innings. So she's still got a few more years in her, and usually the leopards will continue to give birth right until their last possible stages. Well, guys, what an absolute treat. I'm very, very happy that we got to show you some glimpses of this leopardess and her cute little cub from people dotted all around the planet. And it's been a great privilege sharing these scenes with you. If you'd like to continue watching, we're still going to be on safari for another half an hour this evening, and we would love you guys to join us. So you can just Google Safari Live and find us there. And make sure you just keep tuned into the notifications so you don't miss out on any further action that may unfold in the coming days. See you next time. Okay, everyone, back to our regular old faithfuls. Looks like she's trying to bury the two portions of the carcass there. I'm wondering if she's not wanting to head off for a drink. I'm hoping she decides to do that, or she can just go and perch herself up on that log. That also works quite well. I think the cub's possibly going to pop up next to her, so let's just give it a second here. The cub is about to... It was heading towards her, and I'm hoping it's going to jump onto that log next to her. Where are you, Junior? Okay, well, we'll be sure to call you back as soon as that cub does come into screen, and it looks like Thandi's about to disappear, so we're going to send you across to Steve, who's got a beautiful sunset shot. Well, that's an interesting story about Brent avoiding his bath time. Little terrorist. Interesting stuff. And not too sure where the little cub is. Blessings. Whew. That sneeze took a while to fully load there, so I kept quiet for so long. Not too sure where the little cub is, but I'm hoping it's going to pop back onto the scene. Paula, you'd like to know how much milk does the cub get from Thandi at the moment? And I'm not entirely sure. Oh, as soon as I spotted the cub, yeah, you can just see an ear twitching there, Sens. Well done. Just one ear of the cub. And I'm actually not too sure. I think it'll depend on how lucky she's been with, kills. If she hasn't made a kill for a long time, then obviously the cub will need some kind of nutrition, which she may give to it in the form of milk. But with regards to actually how much milk they get, I've got not the faintest idea. I think at the moment it's probably... And this is just a guess, that she's probably kind of getting half her nutrition from meat and half her nutrition from milk. But to be honest, the last few weeks we haven't really actually spent too much time with them, so I've got no first-hand knowledge on what's been going on with them recently. Very good. Well, we're going to stay put here. I'm hoping these leopards get a little bit more active and that the cub gets playful. And while we wait for that, we're going to send you across to Steve, who I'm sure is wanting the same thing from his lions. Sadly, not too much going on here, but again, just thinking about what Steve said and the good state that both the lion and the leopard are in here, and they don't seem to have a worry in the world. I wonder if the lions are going to come this way this evening. There's a chance that they might. They are not far away at all. I'd say about a quarter of a mile from here. Maybe half a mile is where Steve is currently. So they could well slink past. And wouldn't it be nice to know the closest encounters that this leopardess and her cub have experienced in this little cub's life? I'm sure there must have been some close calls already. I remember one morning, this mother we are looking at made a very clever move, and she decided to abandon an area where she actually had not one but 2 kills up a tree. And they'd fed on it for 2 nights, I think. Maybe it was two or 3 nights. I mean, forgive me for not having the exact stats, but it got to a point when she woke up one morning that she thought, you know what, we've been here too long. There have been too many lions in the general area. I am taking my baby away from this food because it could well attract some danger. And later that same very morning, a massive male lion came across the kill. They were both up in a tree. The male lion had to climb the tree to get to the kills. And that's a kind of a good example of her doing the right thing as a mother. But you wonder how many close calls there have been. Amy, you would like to know how much meat can a cub squeeze into its little belly at this age? In one sitting, sheesh, I wonder. 500 grams would be my guess, but I don't know exactly. And again, there'll be variables, because if it's like really hungry and it hasn't had a decent meal for a while, it might be able to jam quite a lot of food into its belly. Whereas how we saw it feeding tonight, when it's already kind of full from the previous meal, it's not going to be able to consume as much when they're kind of dining on a slightly bigger kill. So I guess it depends on when last they fed and whether it's their first feeding session on a singular kill. I wish the little cub would poke its head out, but it seems like it's just lying in the grass and probably just digesting what it did feed on a bit earlier. Patrick, you'd like to know if cubs will come back to visit their mothers after independence. And yes, I have seen it happen before, but I'm not sure if they're wanting to visit their mother or if they're wanting to visit their mother's pantry. There's a bit of a difference there. There was a young male when I first started my career in the south of the Sabi Sands who was kicked out at kind of the normal age, 18, 20 months, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer, and he just kept pestering his mother and following her, and he would often just kind of hear her call and then go running onto the scene, or just kind of know where she might be and just follow her non-stop until she made a kill, knowing that he would be able to then feed on it. And interestingly, that same leopardess had 2 cubs from her new litter. So what would happen is she would go off hunting and she would leave this big male, I mean bigger than her, with the 2 little cubs, kind of like a bodyguard, I guess, in a way, but a hungry bodyguard. She would go off hunting, come back to call the cubs, who obviously needs to go and feed, and the young boy would get to go along too. So that happened for quite some time. We even had a sighting when the father and the son and the 2 small babies and the mother were all kind of together, 5 leopards in one scene, which was something I will never forget. But yeah, it doesn't happen too much. I think they do come across one another, but it's not usually like big hugs and joy that they're seeing one another. More often than not, I'm guessing that the adult will be quite frustrated because it means they're going to have to share their meal, and yeah. So it does happen, but it's not like a joyous occasion where they're all happy and excited to see one another, not at least in my experience. Alrighty then. Well, it seems like we're going to be sending you from one sleeping cat to many sleeping cats with Steve. Yes, it's sadly the end of the safari. Well, not quite, but almost. And just like Steve said goodbye, so too shall I. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to the adventures tomorrow. Over to Brent for the last few moments.